morning. I've had a quite a quiet few days. If I'm honest, I've felt a bit under the weather. I think I sort of overdid it with the, well, I don't know if I overdid it, but the combination of doing all the floorboards with the in the super hot weather meant that I felt a bit ropey for the past few days. Whether it was just the heat or whether it was me pushing the long COVID a bit too much and I knew its boundary, I don't know. Anyway, so I haven't done nothing. So after I've done the boards, the next thing is for the insulation. And that was the other thing. It's easy enough doing sort of just one hard task, one slog, but this thing, the insulation, I really had to think about it because it's somewhat more difficult than well, not difficult, but it's more complex than I originally anticipated. Like everything, I suppose, but it's somewhat more complex than I had originally supposed. So basically, there's two ways you can do the insulation. I mean, there's many ways, but there's two main ways that people do it. The most common way these days is actually you get somebody to come in and they've got this equipment and they just basically spray all the insides with expanding foam from a big tank. And coincident enough, that's what the neighbours were having done the last couple of days. I mean, that's all, and that's great. I mean, the good thing is for that, it's because it's sort of one uniform thing. It clings to the sides of the boat very well, and it's basically, if it's done right, it's a whole moisture. It seals the entire shell of the inside of the shell of the boat, so away from moisture and things. So that's really good. The only downsides are that it's generally done after the batons, which are there for the plywood lining, are in place. So you either have to then go and scrape all the foam off the batons afterwards, which is a really tedious job, or you can try and be clever, not clever, but you can try the other way and put sort of tape on the batons first, which is what my neighbours did. But it took them, and they were lazing around, they're working hard. It took them about 4 days to tape up all the batons. So while a couple of days ago they were doing the spraying, and I was like, oh, this is, gosh, it took them about 2 hours, whereas this is going to take me days. I did actually then think, well, yeah, it's not as quick as that because you've got to factor in all the either the prep or the cleanup. Anyway, so the other way to do it is to use the slab insulation that you use then this stuff that you use from general building stuff and stick it in. And I'd seen plenty of people do that, on YouTube videos and things, and that was the way I decided to go because it means you can control. The other thing about the spray insulation is that it's sort of it's about 2 centimeters thick, and it's also not, because it's spraying in, it varies though. It can be thinner, it can be thicker. And actually, the people next door were a bit disappointed because they thought it was going to be thicker when they've got about 2 centimeters. So I've worked out from the side of the boat to the then including the batons should be about 55 mil. So I've bought 50 mil insulation, which then stick it on, and then also there'll be a small 5 mil gap between the basically batons and the insulation, and then the lining, just to give a bit of ventilation if required. If you can't rule out that you'll get damp on the back there. So that's good. And then anyway, came in, and then the downside is, not trying to be sort of boasting or anything, but because Colecraft are a good quality builder, when I've seen the people do this, the other boats, there's all these stiffening ribs, and then you have this sort of stiff. Basically, I've got stiffening ribs everywhere. I mean, there's all these ones here on the sides. I thought just going to go boom. I mean, some of them some are open like this, and that's I kind of what expected almost all across the boat. But actually, no, there's loads more. I mean, it's great for the structural integrity, but it means it's a real faff for the boards. And then on top of that, I'm sorry, the on-screen floors are quite creaky. And then of course you've got it's an angle iron, so you've got the angles here and things. And I was trying to be clever at first. Now on the first bit at the back, I was trying to sort of carve it out so I could sort of cover there and there and there and there. And it just became an absolute, as well as being really complex, I just couldn't do it because you just end up with this impossible configuration of having to show, because this stuff is quite stiff, and trying to shove it in and shove it in there, and then also put it up there at the same time and get it, and it just didn't work. So I've now done it that basically I cut the top two there, and then this. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't go clean because I need to wrap it in. So, but then it covers that up, and then there will be. There's the gap there, but I will put some expanding foam behind that anyway. And anyway, that's a metal conductor, so the gap there, insulating that, the heat transfer is going to be through that piece of metal anyway. So I don't, as long as it's sealed, I think that's fine. So I'd originally started on the end there, and I was hoping to sort of do it sequentially and move along, but then I said I kept, as well as trying trial and error, and it was quite difficult to think. So I realised it made sense just to kind of set up a production line. So what I'm doing is all these panels along here and then back and down. There's hundreds of them, exaggeration, but there are lots. And so what I've done is I've somewhere hiding. Anyway, I've basically made a template, and I get a piece of board and cut that up, and then there are also two sort of little jig things there for cutting around the jig is a fancy word, two pieces of scrap wood for helping me cut out that. And I just sat down and put some music on and working through that. Luckily it's not any more breezy than it is, otherwise these were an absolute nightmare to carry, because you imagine there's very effective sounds. I did try to open the stern hatch to get these in, and I did, and it's not easy. But the only problem is, it's a bit showery, and I tried to, rain came yesterday, and I tried to close it. And could I bloody close the thing? It's brass rails, and I hear that they get easier as you use them. But at the moment, I basically have to get on the roof and sort of use my feet to close the hatch, which wasn't great. So instead, I'm just easing it in through here. So luckily, they just squeeze in, as you can see. Hello again. So, in the changes as good as a rest thesis, I'm actually quite happy to be putting the ceiling battens in. I haven't put them in the walls yet because, well, I don't know. I'm wondering if that was a good idea or not, but I've got to go in next thing. But for the ceiling, trying to measure out all the foam, it's really not very easy unless these are in. And also, if these aren't in, there's nothing really for them to the blocks to wedge against, so those will drop out. So that's it. But it's doable, as you can see, but it's a bit of a balancing act with only one person. But it goes in, and I'm doing bits by bits, because after a while, this aches as as does the just the looking upwards. These things are absolutely wonderful. They were invaluable in the previous house and flat renovations, and now I couldn't really do this on my own without them. Well, I could, but there'd be even more cursing than. This is one of these things that if there were two people, it'd be considerably quicker. But there aren't, so I've just got to be thankful for these. These things drill themselves, but I found it's just easier to drill the hole in the wood, and I thought also because this is green wood. Well, it's green, but it's not like perfectly kiln dried, so it does have a tendency to warp and split. So I thought drilling the hole then is probably better, so then you're not. If you just force it in, then you're going to be another point of stress for it to split. Some of these go in very easily, some of them take a bit of a oomph. That wasn't too bad. I've got one in. I can just make sure that there we go. That's done. No, that's no. Back to the joys of cutting board. Hi again. So you probably just, cheers. You probably just watched a couple of minutes of time-lapse video, but my goodness, that's. I think of all the under-exaggerations of time, this is clearly the most out of whack. So I started cutting that ridge insulation on. I kind of started on Thursday afternoon. It's now Sunday evening, the following Sunday. So it's been basically like a week and a half of, and I wouldn't feel very well on Wednesday, but apart from that, it's been solid 8, 9, 10-hour days of without break, apart from a break for lunch, but just solidly cutting all the insulation. But you know, it's had to be done, and I was saying to myself, it was so tedious. I mean, I don't think I've been so bored since I was revising for my medieval history exam. And it just felt like it was never ending, but I did tell myself this one time, it's certainly, this is a once in a lifetime project I'm doing, and I certainly don't ever intend to do that again. It just felt like it was never ending. And this is kind of the reason. I mean, if you look at the ceiling, I think there's about 300 of these, and because it's constructed by hand, I tried to do it in a kind of a machine way, like I just did, although it was tedious, I did all the shapes the same size, but they're not the same size. Everything is slightly different, so everything had to be measured and cut individually. So there's, sort of 300, 400 squares up there. All of them are individually sized. And then even the portholes, this is the thing I did last. I've got one easier here. But I want to screw these, I want to foam these all in and glue it all up. But when it comes to painting, I want to be able to reach the clips that are under there, and so I've basically done this out a bit. So this can, you can pull this out. I mean, it's still, you can pull the whole thing out easily at the moment because it's not glued in. But yeah, anyway, I'm very pleased to have got that done. Alas, this is not me over with insulation. This is now cut. It looks like a bit of a dog's breakfast. I don't know if dogs ate rigid insulation board, but most of it is just kind of just lightly wedged in. So the next thing to do is, apart from the ceiling where I needed to put them in just so I knew where I was going and to keep them up, I need to cut out the places for the batons on the side. Most people probably put them in first, but there was just so many segments I had to do for this. It was my idea that somehow it would be easy to do it afterwards, after these things are cut. So I just need to cut it out exactly where the batons go. But before I do that, so I need to basically the next couple of days is going to be marking out where everything should go, channels where they need to be for the conduit, the batons and things. So it's going to be again a bit tedious, but it will be do. Then once that's all cut out and the batons are cut up to size, it's a case of using expanding foam to glue these. I've kept all the behind me. You can see all the offcuts from this because again, so the sort of gaps here. I was trying to, and as you can see, for some I've done lip, but it was impossible to do two lips for both because then you couldn't sort of get the shapes inside. So the idea is with those offcuts, I will sort of fill as much of this in as possible, and then with the rest of it is going to be my the expanding foam is going to be my friends. So the expanding foam is what they do the whole boat with. So it's fine to use, and I will probably using it in quite liberally. Also, I haven't done the bulkhead or the other bulkhead yet because I need to sort out the vents where the channels need to go over that, and also the windows. And I think that might be my next task after this. But let's just take it one step at a time. Anyway, I'm sorry for the delay on the video. I mean, I know it's been quite a while since I put one up. I just, for my sort of mental achievement, I just wanted to get this done before I sort of wrapped up the video and put it online because it signified a goal. I said, I'm so happy this has been done. Anyway, so I'll get this up and then finish off my wine and then get on tomorrow with the marking out and more gouging. I'll be very glad when I could cut up the last piece of polystyrene. It's not too bad it's not dusty or anything, but there's obviously little bits. It's not polystyrene, it's polycyanurate. But of course they go everywhere. It is like polystyrene in that respect. I've probably eaten quite a bit of it over the few days. It just floats everywhere. Anyway, hopefully it's not poisonous. Catch you later.